This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids. What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and Season 5, Episode 3, Game of Thrones. Interesting episode. We got to see a little bit more as far as what's going on with Arya. We got to discover what Littlefinger is up to, that bastard. Got to see what was up with Tyrion, which was always cool. Tyrion being most of our favorite character. Got a little more Pod and Brienne in the mix as well, which I thought that story that Brienne told was very, very cool. So the one that she told Pod about why she followed Renly, and you know how Pod was like, well, you know, he wasn't like shit. Yeah, I know he was into men, but you know the way he treated me, kind of how he was so kind to me when other dudes were just making fun of me. You know, she still held that in high regard, so that's why she followed him. So let's see. Let's kind of go back to the. See if I can never remember everything in sequence, so forgive me. But we have Jon having a discussion with Stannis Baratheon, and Stannis, of course, is trying to make him the Lord of Winterfell, and Jon politely, you know, declines because he's true to his vow to the Night Watch. Stannis, of course, isn't really feeling it because he's just like, you're just like your father with the honor and all that. And he was like, that's not a compliment, because Jon thought that was a compliment. He's like, no, that's so not a compliment. But the funny thing about Stannis saying that is that Stannis is such an honor-ridden person that it's funny to hear him get upset at someone who sticks to their guns, because that's pretty much what Stannis does. Stannis really believes in, you know, his right by blood. He is a no-nonsense, by the books type of person. So Jon doing the right thing, I find that funny how that like rubs him the wrong way. But so Davos, you know, he gave him a little insight. It was like, you know, he thinks highly of you and all that, and was trying to, like, you know, give Jon a little bit of advice about what to do. Now Jon had another situation where he had to show just how honorable he was and how committed he was to being the commander when he was setting forth duties, and he was talking about digging a trench, and a slit trench. If you don't know what a slit trench is, basically it's a place where back then when you're on the march in camps, you had to dig a long ditch, so to speak, so that horses and men could relieve themselves in it. And then you like cover it up after, you know, people do their business and move on to the next spot. So he was doing that assignment, and he looked at Alistair, and of course he's looking at him like, motherfucker, you gonna do this to me? And of course Jon, being Jon, is not gonna be petty. He gave it to someone else. He gave Alistair the command of the Rangers, which, you know, he said, yo, you've been here the longest, you've done good service, you deserve it. He gave him that. Then he tried to give Sir Janis, the bitch who came from King's Landing, who pretty much was key in getting his father killed. You know, I don't think Jon really knows that, but in any event, he tried to give him head of a castle to restore. And dude was just like, nope, I'm not doing that. And he was just like, you know, blowing Jon off. So Jon's like, you're refusing my command? And he's like, sure. He's like, you know, fuck you. So Jon's like, all right, take him outside. He's getting executed. And dude's just like talking all big bad, whatever. You ain't gonna do that. You're not scaring me. Till he saw that block go down, and they put his head on the block, and he saw Jon grab his sword. And then he started crying like a bitch. The bitch that he is, the bitch that he was. Bitch that he was, because Jon wasn't having it. He's sitting there listening to him crying, and that's probably the thing that like was the worst that he could have done, was to sit there and cry and beg for mercy and all that, and say he's right. Right there, you can see the look in Jon's face, because he looked disgusted. that's not nobody I want on a nice watch anyway. Because if you're gonna be this much of a bitch, it's one thing for you to be insolent. It's one thing for you to have been found being a bitch before during the battle against the Wildlings, but like in front of everybody, you sitting here crying like a baby after you tried to act like you missed the big bad. You gets no respect, and you gets what you deserved, and he got his head cut off. That's what he deserved. So Stannis saw that, and Stannis, nodded in approval because, again, Stannis is a guy who's very honor bound and by the book, and he respected what Jon did. So, it's funny how their relationship is working out. Now, as far as the Brienne thing, that story came after she ran across Littlefinger taking Sansa to Roose Bolton. What basically broke down was the message that Littlefinger got was a message from Roose to propose a marriage between Sansa and Ramsay. Of course, that's key for them because in order for Ramsay to be truly accepted as the head of the North, he has to marry the daughter whose father ruled the North, and that's his hope, is that this marriage will quell all the beef, because you saw the flayed bodies that Ramsay had to do when someone refused to pay taxes because he was like, "You're not the head of the North." Ramsay, being crazy as he is, that's the way he handles things, and his father Roose was like, getting off people's skin isn't going to get them to accept you anymore. You know what I mean? It's just going to make situations worse. But he's worked out a deal with Littlefinger, who basically manipulated Sansa's dumbass, talking about you can't keep running, you have to do the right thing, blah, blah, blah. No, you actually could keep running and just say fuck you and not give the man who set your brother up, got him and your mom killed, a chance to consolidate his power. Fuck that. Now, of course, she might have got a wild thought of, well, she'll marry him, then kill them, and she'll take back the note. That shit ain't gonna happen. Sansa, you too fucking dumb. You're too fucking stupid to do that. So I don't know why she bought into that bullshit, but she did, because that's what Sansa does. And now she's gonna be marrying Ramsay Bolton, of all people. And we all know how Ramsay is. That motherfucker right there. It's funny because there was a conversation between Littlefinger and Bolton where he promised he would never hurt her before they went off and had their private conversation. Ramsay said to Littlefinger he'll never hurt her and what have you. Yeah, right, motherfucker. Once you get that ring on the finger, probably gonna do some horrible things to that girl. And I found it funny how Theon just kept trying to hide and avoid Sansa. I wonder when they're gonna eventually have her realize, hey, that's Theon Greyjoy right there. That's gonna be interesting to see. And this is a little switch up from the book, but I like the switch up because it makes it much more intriguing, the situation. But Sansa, you're a dumbass. Like I was saying, Brienne told the story about how Ramsay, they were at a party and the guys were dancing with her, making her feel good, and then she found out that basically they were making fun of her, where Ramsay basically defended her, and he pretty much started dancing with her, and that kind of quieted everybody else because, being who he is, people respected him and his actions a lot more, not to make fun of someone who he clearly was showing them that that's someone who's a friend of his. So I thought that was cool. And then she decided, you know what, Pod, I'm going to teach you how to be a knight. I'm going to train you to sword, train you to ride. Thank God, because Pod needs to learn how to ride a horse, because he's going to lose 1,000,000 horses if he don't. So I thought that was a cool moment. Arya, of course, is in the black and white house, and she's trying to find her way, of course, being Arya, being the strong-headed, stubborn person she is. It's a little difficult. She had a little interaction with one of the people in there who came in and was asking her questions, who is she and all that, trying to testing her because she wants to be one of the faceless people, but basically from what they were saying, they were trying to make her understand that, look, you can't be a faceless person if you keep holding on to your identity and who you are and your past. So they basically told her, hey, you still got Arya's sword, Arya's clothes, and all of that. How could you be no one if you still are surrounded by everything that's Arya? So Arya decides to go throw away her stuff, but one thing she couldn't give up was the sword, which is something that's meaningful to her because it's something that Jon gave her. It's something that she was trained with by her teacher, who she had much respect for, who saved her life. So she hid it in the rock. So it's going to be curious to see how this is going to work out. I remember how it was in the books. Seems to be playing out the same way. We're going to see just the progression of that. That should be an interesting part of the story. Of course, we had some Cersei moments, Cersei issues, where Cersei was basically after the wedding of her daughter. By the way, that was kind of crazy too. They caught me off guard when after the wedding they get to the end sequence of Margaret and is it Margaret or Marjorie? I forget exactly which one it is, but they get to the end of her and Tommen finishing fucking. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're skewing his age a little too much because I think Tommen was like 8, 10 in the damn book. He shouldn't be fucking. If anything, that boy's probably only 12, but then again, back then, as soon as you're ready, whatever, consummate, because that's, the most important thing. But yeah, that kind of threw me off and caught me off guard after having them fuck. And it was funny because, of course, Marjorie's filling his head with stuff, trying to manipulate him to kind of get rid of Cersei. Cersei talks to Tommen, and she kind of gets that, so she goes to Marjorie, and it's funny because it's like she's trying to be nice, but she wants to just flip, and Marjorie sees this, so she's kind of fucking with Cersei, talking about how her and her son fucked all night and how she'll probably be pregnant, and what should I address you as, your proper title, stuff like that, all in front of her girls. And Cersei just sees that, and this is like, Cersei's just like, I'm just here to let you know whatever you need, I'll be there for you. It's like Cersei's just swallowing her pride as best as Cersei could, but just getting like straight bitch slapped verbally by the jabs that Margaret, oh god, I can't believe I forget her name, but yeah, she pretty much toyed with Cersei like that. Later on, one of Cersei's quote-unquote friends, the High Septon, was doing some really fucked up freaky shit. He's sitting up in the damn brothel that Littlefinger runs, and he had all these prostitutes, and they basically were kind of, done in the guise of the 7 gods, and he was picking which of the gods he wanted to fuck. Really, son? Really? The hell type of shit is that? Of course, these High Sparrows, the people who Cersei's cousin Lancel, who she used to fuck, they came in and caught him, and they decided to like send him out in the streets naked, and embarrass him. So he gets mad. He goes to Cersei. It's like he demands she do something. So she does something. She puts him in a dungeon. She tries to create an alliance with the High Sparrows. Having read the books, I kind of know where it goes, but I'm sure you guys pretty much can figure it out that she's trying to make some type of power play, because she's like, there's something about between the crown and religion. There's always need to protect each other, so she's trying to get an ally in this dude. So she's setting something up, and it's probably to get back at her daughter-in-law. Rest assured. And of course we get to Tyrion, and Tyrion, decides he needs to get out of the thing and go walk around the city. So the spider, he acquiesces. Varys lets him do that, which was the wrong move, because we run into an old friend, the guy who used to be hugely in love with the queen, Sir Mormont, Sir Mormont's son. I guess you could say he's still a sir, at least in this mind, because he still wears his knightly uniform, even though he was pretty much banned for the poaching he was done. But he runs into a brothel, and you see him talking to this girl, and she's ready to let him get some for free. And he stops. He's like, he can't do it. I'm thinking she kind of reminded him of what's her name, who he choked out, and that's why he was hesitant. Too bad for him he didn't just go with her and fuck, because instead of going and fuck, he decided, I'm gonna go take a piss. And that's when Marmont grabs him, ties him up, and says, I'm taking you to the queen. Because Marmont probably figures, if I could take her, a Lannister, she'll forgive me and all will be right. We'll see about that. But now Tyrion's in trouble. Man, poor Tyrion. Of course, we didn't get any Daenerys. I'm expecting a lot of Daenerys in the next episode. I'm expecting that we will see some of what Cersei's plan is. Of course, more Arya. And we're going to have to figure out what's going on with Jon and things like that. But right now, we also need to see what's going on in Sunspear as well. They didn't touch on them, so we have to see what's going on there. There's a lot of stuff going on this season that's going to be crazy. I'm really curious to see how they're going to execute it, because in the books, once they got to this point, this is where you started to like just explode in story threads. And I want to see how well they handle all of these story threads, especially since they're talking about going beyond the point that George Martin has gone in his writing. So we shall see. But anyway, you guys hit me up, let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Black Vegas, and I'm out. Deuces.